The Prodigal Son, a story of reckless love and radical grace. This is a timeless parable of loss, redemption, and unwavering love, reimagined to speak to the heart of today's seeker. Journey with us as we explore the path of a son who strayed, the mercy of a father who never stopped loving, and the divine grace that calls each of us home. Have you ever felt distant, adrift? Perhaps not physically lost in a faraway land, but lost in a more profound sense, lost in the quiet corridors of your own heart. Maybe it's a feeling of being disconnected from your family, from your roots, or from a faith you once held dear. It's the silent ache of spiritual apathy. The sense that you're just going through the motions, chasing pursuits that ultimately leave you feeling empty. We live in a world that relentlessly tells us to find ourselves, to seek our own fortune, to be the captain of our own soul. But what happens when we journey out, only to find ourselves shipwrecked by our own choices? What happens when the life we thought we wanted leaves us broken and longing for a home we willingly left behind? Today, we're going to journey back in time to explore one of the most powerful stories ever told. It's a parable spoken by Jesus, recorded in the Gospel of Luke, chapter 15. It's a story about rebellion, loss, and the breathtaking beauty of restoration. It's the story of the prodigal son. But more than that, it is the story of a loving father, a picture of God whose love for you is unwavering, no matter how far you've strayed. This isn't just an ancient tale. It's a mirror reflecting our own struggles and our deepest hopes. So, I invite you to open your heart. If this story resonates with you, please consider subscribing and sharing it with someone who might need to hear this message of hope. Let's begin. The story begins with a man who had 2 sons. Jesus tells us the younger son approaches his father with a shocking request. "Father, give me the share of property that is coming to me." Now, in that culture, this was a profound insult. To ask for your inheritance while your father is still alive was like saying, "Father, I wish you were dead." It was a complete rejection of his father's authority, his love, and his very existence. He didn't just want the family's wealth, he wanted to cash out of the family itself. And the father, in a move that would have stunned the original listeners, agrees. He divides his property. He lets his son go. Sometimes, the deepest lessons can only be learned on the other side of a painful choice. The Father, representing God, gives us the freedom to walk away, even when it breaks his heart. The Son travels to a distant country, a place far from his people and his faith. There, the scripture says, he squandered his property in reckless living. He chased every fleeting pleasure, every empty promise the world had to offer. He lived for the moment, with no thought for tomorrow. Sin often promises freedom, but it only brings slavery. It promises life, but its wages are death. Then, his resources run out. A severe famine strikes the land, and he finds himself in desperate need. The party is over. His friends are gone, and he's alone and destitute. He hits rock bottom, hiring himself out to feed pigs on an utterly degrading job for a Jewish man. He's so consumed by hunger that he longs to eat the very pods the pigs were eating. Yet no one gave him anything. This is the portrait of a soul in absolute desolation, a life consumed by discontent and the harsh consequences of sin. And it is here, in the filth and the despair, that the turning point comes. The scripture beautifully says, he came to himself. In the silence of his failure, he finally begins to think clearly. He remembers his father's house, where even the hired servants had more than enough bread. His painful circumstances help him to see his father in a new light, and a glimmer of hope enters his heart. He rehearses a speech born of humility and desperation. "I will arise and go to my father, and I will say to him, 'Father, I have sinned against heaven and before you.'" I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Treat me as one of your hired servants." He isn't expecting to be welcomed back as a son. He just hopes for mercy, for a place as a slave. He is ready to turn away from his sin and return to his father's authority. But the story takes a breathtaking turn. While he was still a long way off, his father saw him and felt compassion. The father hadn't forgotten. He had been watching, waiting, longing for this very moment. And then he does something utterly shocking and undignified for an elder in that culture. He runs. He casts aside all social norms, all thoughts of his own honor, and runs to his son. He throws his arms around his son and kisses him. The son begins his rehearsed speech. "Father, I have sinned." But the father interrupts him. He doesn't need to hear the full confession. The return is enough. Instead of condemnation, there is only rejoicing. The father commands his servants, "Bring quickly the best robe, and put it on him, and put a ring on his hand, and shoes on his feet." This isn't just clothing, it's a profound statement. The robe signifies honor, the ring signifies authority and restored sonship, and the shoes signify he is a son, not a slave. He then calls for the fattened calf to be prepared for a great celebration. The father declares the reason for this extravagant party. "For this, my son was dead, and is alive again. He was lost, and is found." This is the heart of the gospel. But the story doesn't end there. The older brother, who had been dutifully working, hears the celebration and becomes angry. He sees the grace shown to his brother not as love, but as unfairness. His relationship with his father was based on works and merit, and he cannot comprehend the radical, unconditional nature of this forgiveness. The father gently pleads with him, "Son, you are always with me, and all that is mine is yours. But we had to celebrate. For this your brother was dead, and is alive." In this incredible story, Jesus leaves us with a powerful image of God's heart. A heart that waits with patient compassion. A heart that runs to us while we are still a long way off, not with judgment, but with an embrace of grace. A heart that celebrates our return with overwhelming joy. Maybe you see yourself in the younger son you've journeyed far from God, and you feel the weight of your choices. You wonder if you could ever come back, if you're too broken, too lost. The message of this parable is for you. Come home. There is nothing you have done that can place you beyond the reach of God's forgiveness. His arms are open wide. Or maybe you relate more to the older brother. You've tried to live a good life, followed the rules, but perhaps you harbor resentment or a sense of self-righteousness. This story is also an invitation to you to lay down the burden of earning love and to step into the joyful freedom of grace. To celebrate the redemption of others. If you've never delved into the Bible before, let this story be your starting point. It is a perfect illustration of the central message of Christianity. God's boundless mercy and unconditional love for every person. And if your spiritual journey feels derailed, if you feel distant and apathetic, know that the Father is watching the road, waiting for you. Forgiveness is not just about being pardoned. It's about being restored to your rightful place in the family. No matter where you find yourself today, in a distant country of your own making, or in a field of dutiful but joyless service, the invitation is the same. Come home to the party. Come home to the Father's embrace. May you have the courage to take that first step back, and may you be overwhelmed by the reckless, healing, and transformative love of the Father who waits for you. You are never beyond the reach of divine love. Stay encouraged, stay uplifted. Subscribe for more stories that awaken hope and bring light to your journey.